can we eat chicken or not according to the Bible? It's going to be deep. I remember I was out of town. This was right before, I think I just met Yanni, but I haven't seen her yet. Because, you know, the way we met was kind of crazy. I heard a voice tell me to call this number that was in my phone that I never called before, right? Just call this number right here. I was like, all right. So, hello? She was like, hello? I was like, you know, I was told to call this number. I was like, what's your name? I was like, you got a Facebook? Let me see what you look like, right? So we started just like that, right? So I never seen her or anything, but at that time, you know, I had a dream that the Most High was telling me. He told me, he said, don't eat chicken no more. He was showing me how crazy, like, it was to eat chicken, and I couldn't wrap all I knew was he said, don't eat chicken no more, right? So Jonathan was with me, so I told him, I said, man, I can't eat chicken no more. The Most High told me don't eat it. And then as soon as I I went to Leviticus and then Deuteronomy, and it said, don't eat things that are mingled seed, right? And then, as soon as I started to research chicken, I found out that they was hybrid. So I was just ecstatic right there. Didn't want to go no further. I was like, oh, praise to the Most High. He told me don't do it. He showed me why. But it's even deeper than that. It's way deeper, right? So before we even start this, right, because y'all know California Hebrews, we teach that you're not supposed to eat chicken. So if you've been standing for that, since you've been here, can you please stand real quick?
You said since I've been here?
Yeah. All praise. Safari, can you write down everybody's name that stood up, please? I'm serious. There's a reason for it. And let me know when you're done. We're going to continue. And turn that fan off. Put it on a chair or something. Oh, it is? So, as we go through this lesson, right, it's going to get really deep because we got to go back in the past first. But then, I mean, we're going to go way back in the past, but then we're going to find out what happened right here in America to the chicken. It's going to blow your mind, right? And as I was researching this, it kept getting deeper and deeper, and it was so much information, man. It would take me like 4 lessons to do something on chicken, right? And the crazy part is they've been hiding this from the real true people of the Most High because they wanted to get us hooked on it, right? Like chicken is like a drug to Hebrews. You know what I'm saying? If you talk about their Jesus, or you talking about that chicken, they ready to kill you. You gotta fight to get one of those two out of their mouth, right? And they ain't having it. You can't talk about my chicken, and you definitely can't talk about my Jesus, right? So as we get ready to go through this, I want everybody to keep an open mind because I know it's hard for you not to eat chicken because they got us addicted to it. But it's gonna get deep, right? So let's just get ready to get into this. All right, so we got to go to the scriptures first, right? So let's go to Leviticus 11, verse 9.
Leviticus chapter 11, verse 9. These shall you eat of all that are in the waters, whatsoever has fins and scales in the waters, in the seas and in the rivers, them shall you eat. And all that have not fins and scales in the seas, and in the rivers, of all that move in the waters, and of any living thing which is in the waters, they shall be an abomination unto you.
All right, so I don't know if y'all paid attention to what he said about how we supposed to eat things that's out the water, right? So that I want to. He said, and all that have not fins and scales in the seas, in the rivers, of all that move in the water, and any living thing which is in the waters, it shall be abomination to you. So I'm reading it real slow because I want y'all to think about what all of the people is jumping on right now thinking is healthy. Right? Everybody know what I'm talking about? Sea moss, right? That will be considered abomination because it's in the waters, right? And it's even deeper than that. We're going to do a lesson on that too. I was going to bring this into the lesson, but chicken was just too, when we started going over that, it was just too much information. I had to stick to one or the other, right? Okay, so now the reason why sea moss would be considered seriously abomination because, and this might hurt people because I know they love sea moss. They trying to get us on whatever they trying to get us on, right? But sea moss, if you do your research, they have a male plant and they have a female plant, right? And the male plant has sperm and sends sperm to the female plant to impregnate the female plant to have babies. So that's more like a sea creature almost, you know what I mean? This ain't like no normal plant, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, let's keep going.
Verse 11, they shall be even an abomination unto you. You shall not eat of their flesh, but you shall have their carcasses in abomination. Whatsoever has no fins nor scales in the waters, that shall be an abomination unto you. And these are they which you shall have in abomination among the fowls. They shall not be eaten. They are an abomination. The eagle, and the ossifrage, and the osprey, and the vulture, and the kite after his kind. Every raven after his kind, and the owl, and the nighthawk, and the cuckoo, and the hawk after his kind, and the little owl, and the cormorant, and the great owl, and the swan, and the pelican, and the gier eagle, and the stork, the heron after her kind, and the lapwing, and the bat. All fowls that creep, going upon all fours, shall be an abomination unto you.
All right, keep going. 21.
Yet these may you eat of every flying, creeping thing that goes upon all four, which have legs above their feet, to leap withal upon the earth. Even these of them you may eat, the locust after his kind, and the bald locust after his kind, and the beetle after his kind, and the grasshopper after his kind. But all other flying, creeping things which have 4 feet shall be an abomination unto you. And for these you shall be unclean. Whosoever touches the carcass of them shall be unclean until the even. And whosoever beareth aught of the carcass of them shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening. The carcasses of every beast which divides the hoof, and is not cloven footed, nor chews the cud, are unclean unto you. Every one that touches them shall be unclean. And whatsoever goes upon his paws, among all manner of beasts that go on all 4, those are unclean unto you. Whoso touch their carcass shall be unclean until the evening. And he that bears the carcass of them shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening. They are unclean unto you. 29. These also shall be unclean unto you among the creeping things that creep upon the earth, the weasel and the mouse, and the tortoise after his kind, and the ferret, and the chameleon, and the lizard, and the snail, and the mole. These are unclean to you among all that creep. Whosoever does touch them, when they be dead, shall be unclean until the evening.
All right, y'all see how deep it gets with all he going through details of things that he created for you to eat and for things that you are not to eat. And I just want to put a disclaimer out there on sea moss right now. Irish sea moss, Irish moss is not sea moss. That's two different things. So that grows on the land and it's really like a real plant. So you can take that, but the ones that grow in the ocean and they like seaweed, you don't want to mess with that. The seaweed is actually cleaning the ocean. And so they telling everybody, and I seen a video, and me and Solomon seen it together, and they took it down real quick. But it's a lot of people getting sick that's taking the sea moss, and they was trying to bring it out, but they took the video down so people can't see that, you know, that this is just not helping us. Like they telling us that it is. All right, where verse you at?
Verse 32.
All right, let's go.
And upon whatsoever any of them, when they are dead, does fall and shall be unclean, whether it be any vessel of wood, or raiment, or skin, or sack, whatsoever vessel it be, wherein any work is done, it must be put into water, and it shall be unclean until the even, so it shall be cleansed. And every earthen vessel whereunto any of them falleth, whatsoever is in it shall be unclean, and you shall break it. Of all meat which may be eaten, that on which such water comes shall be unclean, and all drink that may be drunk in every such vessel shall be unclean. And everything that whereupon any part of their carcass falls shall be unclean. Whether it be oven or ranges for pots, they shall be broken down, for they are unclean, and shall be unclean unto you. Nevertheless, a fountain or pit wherein there is plenty of water shall be clean. But that which touches their carcass shall be unclean. And if any part of their carcass fall upon any sowing seed which is to be sown, it shall be clean. But if any water be put upon the seed, and any part of it, their carcass fall thereon, it shall be unclean unto you. And if any beast of which you may eat die, he that touches the carcass thereof shall be unclean until the even. And he that eats of the carcass of it shall wash his clothes, and be unclean until the even. He also that bears the carcass of it shall wash his clothes, and be unclean until the evening. And every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth shall be an abomination. It shall not be eaten. Whatsoever goes upon the belly, and whatsoever goes upon all four, or whatsoever has more feet among all creeping things that creep upon the earth, them you shall not eat, for they are an abomination. You shall not make yourselves abominable with any creeping thing that creeps, neither shall you make yourselves unclean with them, that you should be defiled thereby. For I am the Most High your power. You shall therefore sanctify yourselves, and you shall be holy, for I am holy. Neither shall you defile yourselves with any manner of creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. For I am the Most High that brings you up out of the land of Egypt to be your power. You shall therefore be holy, for I am holy.
He said, be what?
Be holy.
For he is what?
Holy.
Read.
This is the law of the beast, and of the fowl, and of every living creature that moves in the waters, and of every creature that creeps upon the earth. To make a difference between the unclean and the clean, and between the beast that may be eaten and the beast that may not be eaten.
All right, so that's the whole thing. He said to make a difference between the unclean and the clean. We got to know what's unclean in the eyes of the Most High, not just in your own mind. You got to do how the Most High wants you to do it, right? So he said you got to make a difference between the unclean and the clean, and between the beast that may be eaten and the beast that may not be eaten, right? All right, so now let's get to it. Leviticus 19:19.
Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 19. You shall keep my statutes. You shall not let your cattle gender with a diverse kind. You shall not sow your field with mingled seed. Neither shall a garment mingled of linen and woolen come upon you.
All right, so it says, thou shalt not let the cattle gender with a diverse kind, right? Do y'all know what that means? Huh? A different kind. We're not supposed to let our cattle mix with another kind, right? And so what people think is they think that when you say a fowl, right, that just as long as it got the word fowl at the back of it, right, that all of the birds are the same. And they don't work like that, right? Because each animal has its own DNA. It's called, what do they call it? For instance, a red jungle fowl is a gullus, and we're about to get into that, but they all have a genetic name to them that makes them different from the other fowl that may look like them, but is completely different, right? So what I'm gonna say this, so like if we had some fish and we dropped all of them and they was all kind of different fish, if we dropped them all in a tank, the fish will find the ones that look just like them. They kind, right? You will see some gold ones over there, some black ones over there, some orange ones over here, the catfish over here, the salmon over here. You see what I'm saying? You're not gonna see a salmon have sex with a catfish on his own. You see what I'm saying? But just because he got the word fish behind his name, it don't make it all right, right? Because we got fish that we can eat, and we got fish that we can't eat. So you just can't, just because it's in a fish family, I'm just gonna go ahead and we got fish that's in the sea that was created by man. Do y'all know that? What's one of them? Who know the one? Tilapia. Tilapia was made by men, genetically modifying, grabbing DNA here and creating their own fish in the sea. And now what's happening? Everybody getting sick that eat tilapia. They even say tilapia is connected with herpes right now. Right? So we're not supposed to sow the field with mingled seed, right? We're not supposed to mix, a potato with a tomato, right? We're not supposed to eat watermelon with no seeds, right? And now they changing the color of watermelon on the inside. It's a whole different color. You know what I'm saying? They making so much crazy stuff with science. And this been going on from the beginning of time. Fallen angels been showing the children of, the disobedient children of Israel how to do this. And this is coming from ancient times that's coming to now. And they're trying to create beasts that are not supposed to be here, right? All right, so now let's keep going. Let's go to Deuteronomy 22 and 9.
Deuteronomy chapter 22 and verse 9. You shall not sow your vineyard with diverse seeds, lest the fruit of your seed which you have sown and the fruit of your vineyard be defiled. You shall not plow with an ox and an ass together. You shall not wear a garment of diverse sorts, as of woolen and linen together.
All right, so we just went over, don't do the diverse seeds, right? Then he said, don't plow an axe and an ass together. Remember, we did a lesson on that, right? So why are you not supposed to do an ass and an ox together? Anybody remember? Go ahead. All right. Exactly. They said that a donkey's breath is toxic to the ox, and it will kill him if he breathes that breath. He's gonna die right there, right? So a lot of people don't know when the Most High say don't do something, he mean it, right? Now when he say don't wear woolen and linen together, right? What did we learn about that back in the day? Anybody remember? Go ahead. Well, if you wear these two, it'll kill you because the energy is at 1,000, and one of them is going left, and then the other one is at 1,000 and it's going right. So when you put it on, you mix the clothes together and you put it on your body, it can kill you. It'll take all your energy and it'll just shut your energy down. It's like with the two energies going two different ways, and you put it on, it just shuts you down. Right, so I mean, that's a whole nother lesson, right? But all right, so let's keep going. Matthew 23 and 37.
Matthew chapter 23 and verse 37. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you that kill the prophets, and stone them which are sent unto you. How often would I have gathered your children together, even as a hen gathers her chickens under her wings, and you would not.
All right, so this wrong verse right here, just because they see the word chicken in the verse, right? They be like, oh man, the children of Israel was eating chicken back then, right? First of all, we were speaking Hebrew, right? So we wouldn't have called it a chicken, right? That wouldn't have came out of our mouth, right? But when we dissect the Bible, you can't just look at the surface, right? You're looking at the surface. Remember, the Bible was translated into English, right? It was translated into English, right? So when we look up the real word, right, that they had for chicken, right? Before I get there, go ahead and read that real quick, Albert. This is the real word that they had there.
This is the Greek. Nauseon, a nestling, the young of birds.
All right, so that's what it really meant, right? So now, the reason why the word chicken is there, let's get this, right? So they said the earliest known use of a noun chicken in the Old English period was 1150 after death, right? So 1150, chicken word was inherited by the grammatic, right? And it says, go ahead, I'm gonna let you read that real quick.
Okay, so it was inherited by Germanic people. The Germanic people were tribal groups who once occupied northwestern and central Europe and the Scandinavia during antiquity and into the early Middle Ages.
Okay, so we're just talking about the word chicken right now. We're not talking about the actual bird. Okay, so now the 1150 AD, right, was the 11th century, right? When Christ was on the earth, he was on the earth in the first century. He was on the earth in the first century. The word chicken didn't come out to the 11th century, right? So there's no way that word would have been chicken, right? So let's break it down, and we go into a university. I'm gonna try to use stuff that, you know, people can't dispute. This is an actual university that did a study on chicken, right? And what did they come up with?
Okay, this is from the University of Wisconsin. Most scientists agree that the Southeast Asian red jungle fowl, Gallus gallus, is the primary wild ancestor of chickens. However, because DNA studies show that the red jungle fowl lacks the gene for yellow skin, it is believed that at some point, hybridization with the gray jungle fowl, which is Gallus sonorati, of India has occurred. The body structure of the Indian game bird, or Cornish, and the Brahmas of China gives physical evidence of gray jungle fowl influence. The tail carriage of the breed Sumatra indicates genetic contributions of the Sri Lanka jungle fowl, Gallus lafayette. No doubt, the green jungle fowl, Gallus varius, has also contributed to modern chicken.
Wow, so this is 3 different fowls. How many did they have in there? 1, 2, 3? That's 4. 4 different fowls, right, with different genetic names that lives in different regions of the earth. I'm gonna put that out there too. These birds ain't all in the same habitat. They are from different parts of the earth, right? And with them being in different parts of the earth, it is no way scientifically that these animals would mate on their own, right? So now, let's keep going. All right. So we got the red jungle fowl is a what?
Gallus.
Gray jungle fowl is a what?
Gallus sonorati.
All right. Now, what is the chicken's name, right? Because we see the scientific name for the red jungle fowl. We see the scientific name for the gray jungle fowl. What is the scientific name for the chicken? Read.
So the chicken's assigned name is Gallus domesticus. It's a large and round short-winged bird domesticated from the red jungle fowl of Southeast Asia.
Y'all hear that? So the chicken is called the Gallus domesticus, right? Now watch this. What does that mean?
So why are chickens called Gallus domesticus? Chickens were created when red jungle fowl were domesticated for human use around 8,000 years ago as subspecies.
Wait, we're gonna stop right there, right? He said chickens were created, right? Created by who?
Humans.
Not the Most High. They was created by man, right? And he said that they was called a subspecies. We're gonna find out what that means in a minute. Read. Subspecies.
Subspecies Gallus domesticus. They are now a major source of food for humans. However, undomesticated red jungle fowls still represent an important source of meat and eggs in their endemic range.
All right, so let's find out what subspecies mean. Read.
A taxonomic category that he's naming that ranks below species, usually a fairly permanent, geographically isolated race. Subspecies are designated by a Latin trinomial.
All right, so one version of it means below species. All right, what's the next part say?
A subspecies is a group within a species that has become somewhat physically and genetically different from the rest of the group.
So they different from the rest of the group genetically and physically. Read.
However, they are still similar enough to inbreed with the rest of the species.
All right, what does it say right here?
In biological classification, subspecies is a rank below species, used for populations that live in different areas and vary in size, shape, or other physical characteristics, but that can successfully interbreed. Not all species have subspecies, but for those that do, there must be at least two. Subspecies.
It must be two what? When he said it must be at least two to make you a subspecies. It must be at least two different species that you made from to make you a subspecies, right? Meaning that they had to add to you to make, now they added to you so much that we can't even call you a species no more. We got to call you a subspecies because you below a species. This is something completely different here. You're like, wait a minute, hold up, man, what's going on? Like, we got to call you a subspecies. You know what I'm saying? All right, read that.
So morphology in biology is the study of the form and structure of organisms and their specific structural features. This includes aspects of the outward appearance, shape, structure, color, pattern, size, etc. External morphology or idonomy, as well as the form and structure of internal parts, like bones and organs, internal morphology or anatomy. This is in contrast to physiology, which deals primarily with function. Morphology is a branch of life science dealing with the study of gross structure and gross structure of an organism or taxon and its component parts.
All right, we going into science right now, right? So this is how they would look at the structure of the body, and they can create it, right? So they have had this technology for a long time. They can actually do it with humans, right? Before you were even born, right? And so this is why it said, what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? A lot of people said the egg came first, of course, right? But when you really look at it, if they genetically modifying the embryo, right, before it's in the egg, and then they already know what this is going to create something different. So it came before the egg. And we're going to show you how deep the chicken was and who did it, everything. We going in. It ain't going to be no dispute on this chicken no more. This is an abominable bird, and I'm going to show you how the Most High is against it, and he been using his powers against this, right? All right, so let's get deeper, right? Yeah, we ain't got to do that one. All right, so let's read crossbreed.
Okay, crossbreed. Present participle. Crossbreeding, one produce an animal or plant by mating or hybridizing two different species, breeds, or varieties. He taught himself how to crossbreed superior seeds.
All right, so when you hear somebody say they crossbreed something, right? Crossbreed meaning that don't mean that they breeding the animal with the same kind of animal. They're crossbreeding. Crossbreeding means that we're breeding something that is not this animal, right? Now, what do we just read in the commandments, right? 19:19. Don't mingle the seed, right? They're mingling the seed and creating something that ain't never been created for. It's like a little walking monster, just little Frankenstein, right? Something that has never been on this earth before. And the Most High like, what the heck is that? And why is y'all eating it, right? So it's, go ahead and read. It's about to get deep.
Okay, so hybridize, a breed, species, or variety with another. They crossbreed traditional sheep with the local breeds from various English counties. Of an animal or plant, breed with a different breed, species, or variety. The danger of weeds crossbreeding with crops.
All right, we ain't supposed to do it with our plants as well. Okay, so I want y'all to meet this brother. Robert Bakewell, right? Now this dude, right, he the one that was showing people how to genetically modify everything. And one of his, we just gonna go to his history. I ain't gonna say nothing I was about to tell y'all, but we gonna go. All right, so read that, Elder. It's little for you. Let me see. He said, woo! That's why I got my other computer up for you, because I knew you was gonna say that. All right. So I look over here then. All right, there you go.
Okay.
Oh, shoot. Start right here, right there. Read that part and then start right there.
Okay, this first one.
This is the name.
Okay, this is about Robert Bakewell by Doug Ottinger.
He was born in 1725.
Yeah, he was born in 1725. Okay. So starting around the turn of the 20th century, interest in the field of genetics and heredity began to grow in the scientific and educational communities at an almost exponential rate. Many animals and organisms were studied, but by some estimates, no organism or animal, including humans, had any more research done on them than chickens.
Woo!
For the next
Wait, did y'all just hear that? They said it never been nothing more researched or studied or performed on than who?
And chickens.
Then who?
Chickens.
The ones you love to eat just because they so crispy and tasty? The one that you ready to fight for and kill Malak for, that be ready to kill me over some chicken. I'll be having to be like, I'm finna get crucified because I'm telling you not to eat chicken. Right? Alright, so there has never been anything more than chicken. So this dude started the research way back then in the 1725, around, you know, he died in 1795. So within, in the middle of that time, he was like the father of all of this, right? But let's keep going.
For the next 60 years or so, vast amounts of money and time were expended by many of the leading colleges and universities, as well as federal and state governments, to gain a better understanding of poultry genetics and breeding, and ultimately improve overall production. Poultry was a component of almost every family farm during this time. Many families relied on the production and sale of eggs, as well as butchered birds to help make ends meet. Because this was such a very real economic component of life, government agricultural departments in not only the United States and Canada, but in much of the developed world, committed notable resources to this endeavor. Prior to the concept of genetics evolving, breeders still had a good understanding of the role that heredity and lineage played in breeding improvement. German farmers in the Pennsylvania upcountry, as early as the 1700s, were aware of the deleterious effects that too much inbreeding could have on a flock. Each spring, many farmers in the individual communities held rooster swaps with one another to bring new blood and vigor into their poultry lives.
All right. So we got the little breakdown about Robert Bakewell, right? He was studying chicken all the way back in the 1700s, right? But now, here come who? Mr. Gregor Mendel, right? So let's read about him.
So Gregor Mendel. To fully appreciate some of the early research done with fowl, one has to understand a little history of genetic research. Almost every high school student during his or her year in biology class learned about a monk in the 1800s named Gregor Mendel.
All right, okay, so Gregor Mendel, he was in the 1800s, right? But remember, the other dude was in the 1700s, right? So let's keep going.
So Gregor Mendel, who was fascinated by the variations of pea vines in his garden. Between 1856 and 1863, Mendel kept copious notes on the parent plants as well as the offspring. When the next generation of pea seed was planted, dividing the result into distinct mathematical ratios. Mendel noticed that certain traits were much more prevalent than others. Because of this, he used the terms dominant and recessive, which we still use today, to describe them. Most students are taught how to make a little square, divided into 4 sections or more, and to put the symbols for various genetic traits or dominant and recessive genes on the top and side of the square's sections. They then make simple mathematical predictions about the outcome of crossbreeding plants or animals.
All right, so did y'all peep that? Okay, so with their mathematical predictions, right, they try to predict the outcome of what they was going to create before they created it. Are y'all hearing me? These people are playing the Most High, man. They sit up here saying, we're going to make food for you to eat when the Most High made all the food for us to eat. So we're going to eat their food that they made for us? Like they the Most High? Are y'all hearing me? So before it even goes into they inject this into the animal, they already trying to figure out what's gonna happen. Is it gonna have bigger legs? Is this gonna make the legs yellow? This gonna make the wings bigger, smaller, they chest big? Let's add a little this and add a little that, right? And it sounds like some witchcraft going on, right? And he was like, add a little bat wing and a little mouse whisker, right? Right? This is what they was doing. But let's keep going.
Many biology teachers move as rapidly as possible through the material, teaching the students that Gregor Mendel was the father of modern genetics, hence the term Mendelian genetics. However, if you could go back in time and talk with Gregor Mendel and ask him about his research work in pea vine genetics, he would probably ask you, Mendelian what? For you see, the term genetics was not coined until some 22 years after his death. Mendel's studies were studies in heredity, as he termed them. If you try to draw one of those squares, known as a Punnell square, and enter the symbols for dominant and recessive pea plant genes, poor Brother Mendel would be even more perplexed. For, you see, it was a man named Reginald Punnell who came up with that little divided square many years later. And Mendel was not the one who came up with the theory of genes. However, Mendel's work was very advanced for the time, and it cannot be undervalued. His work did help later researchers confirm some of their studies as they achieved similar results with other organisms.
All right, so let's watch this little video real quick. Because some people, you know, right before I start this video, some people just gotta hear from the white man instead of me, right? So for those people, Amaria, I'm gonna allow you to hear it from the white man himself. And then he's gonna say, I believe.
Monk, teacher, and biologist
White woman.
Gregor Mendel is known today as the father of modern genetics.
Gregor Mendel's experiments on pea plants were fundamental in establishing the field of modern genetics.
Born Johann Mendel on July 22, 1822, in what was Austria and is now the Czech Republic, Mendel excelled at school and became an Augustinian monk to further his education. He was given the name Gregor when he entered the monastery.
The monastery sent him to the University in Vienna, and that gave him the education in science, math, chemistry, and botany that he then brought back to use in his teaching.
Mendel accepted a teaching position at the monastery in Brno after completing his university studies. It was during this period he began his famous pea plant experiments.
Before Mendel, people thought you would equally inherit the traits of parent A and parent B in equal proportions.
Mendel experimented with pea plants and found that instead there were dominant and recessive traits in all organisms that were passed on statistically based upon the mixing of genes between the two parents.
This theory is now known as the law of segregation. Mendel also formulated the law of independent assortment.
The law of independent assortment addressed the fact that there are a large number of traits. These traits are passed on randomly and are independent of the other traits and of the traits of the two different parents.
The ability to explain hereditary diseases and to engineer plants with desired properties are all consequences of the fundamental theory founded by Mendel.
During his life, Gregor Mendel's research was disregarded by almost everyone. It wasn't until the early 1900s, after his death, that Mendel's work was appreciated and now serves as the basis for genetics and heredity.
In his later years, Mendel became the abbot of his monastery and spent less time with his scientific endeavors. Gregor Mendel died in 1884 at the age of 62.
Gregor Mendel's work laid the foundation for modern genetics, for modern gene therapy, and is the basis for some of the most exciting discoveries in medicine currently and in the near future.
All right, so we got him out the way, right? So now, we build it up, Okay, so we gotta go to this man now. And I want y'all to pay attention to that picture. Look at that picture right there. What do y'all see in the back of him? And them don't look like no normal chickens right there. Them chickens look like giants. They're like chickens that'll kill you. Y'all see that? Now he specialized, his whole thing was specializing in the genetics of chicken, right? Okay, so that's, we on Basin, right? Yeah, right here. Okay. All right, so let's read this real quick.
Okay, William Bateson. Another researcher, William Bateson, 1861 to 1926, was one of the first individuals to formally study the effects of crossbreeding and heredity in chickens.
In who?
In chickens.
In what?
Chickens. Bateson was intrigued by the variations and differences in the combs of individual birds. That's the thing on the head. Consequently, he began thinking of ways to conduct a study that would answer some of the whys and wherefores of the seeming vast differences of comb structure in different breeds of the genus Gallus. Starting in 1898, Bateson began crossbreeding Indian games, peacocks, Wyandottes, rose combs, Dorkings, rose combs, and single-comb white leghorns. He kept precise data on his findings of both F1 and F2 crosses.
Do y'all hear this? Man, y'all sit up here eating the bird that this man created. And it's even worse than that. We still ain't got to the beat of it yet. But we already showing that even way back then, they was already crossbreeding chicken. There's no such thing as the original chicken no more. I don't care where you at. You go to Africa, that African chicken right there came from this dude. Because they spreaded this whole thing all around and the education behind it, right? And I'm gonna show y'all, it's about to get real deep. But let's keep going.
There was a distinct 3-to-1 ratio in the F2 generation, almost identical to the findings of Gregor Mendel many years earlier. What becomes even more interesting, however, is the fact that Bateson reportedly did not even hear of Mendel or his research until 2 years later in 1900. One must remember that information traveled at a crawl in this era, so this is not totally surprising.
All right, so do you see how everybody's knowledge that I started off with the other guy, I forgot his name already. But anyway, all of their knowledge kept bouncing down to the next person and they kept making it bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And one of them was a priest. Did y'all peep that? A monk. A monk, ain't a monk a priest? Sort of. It's real similar, right? So all of them is getting the knowledge and they sharing it with other white people. Remember, they had studies and they had students. Are y'all hearing me? Right? And these students was doing their thing, right? So watch this. Go ahead.
Okay. Bateson studied traits in chickens as well as several other organisms. His findings of distinct ratios coincided with the findings of Gregor Mendel, giving the first proof that Mendel's findings on heredity applied to the animal as well as plant kingdom. In 1902, Bateson presented his findings to the Evolution Committee of the Royal Society in London. Up until this time, Mendel's findings had been largely discredited by the leading men of science.
Okay, so I got more with this, but instead of that, because I got a video I'm going to show you about this. So here goes the white man telling you again.
Brigham Mendel, the father of genetics, then William Bateson was its herald. One of the earliest and staunchest proponents of Mendel's work, Bateson not only coined the term genetics, but expand upon the Mendelian laws of inheritance, describing many of the interactions we've covered in this class. William Bateson was born August 8, 1861. His father was the master of St. John's College, Cambridge, and thus William grew up comfortably and surrounded by academia. Bateson attended his father's school and studied the natural sciences, specifically zoology. Originally, his work was focused on embryology, with the specimen of choice being the balanoglossus, a worm-like organism which is an evolutionary link between vertebrates and invertebrates. Chasing this creature led him to the Chesapeake Bay region of the United States, where he met invertebrate zoologist William K. Brooks, who studied heritability at the time. Working and talking with Brooks began Bateson's interest in the mechanisms of variation and how this would affect and result in a novel species. One of the most controversial parts of Bateson's work was his rigid adherence to the ideas that an organism's characteristics change in discrete intervals, not in gradual continuous changes over time, as Darwin and many of his contemporaries believed. After many years of studying balanoglossus and other organisms in the steppes, Bateson published his book, Materials for the Study of Variation, in 1894. This book cataloged many discrete characteristics found within species around the world, and left Bateson searching for the means by which these differences arose. At the turn of the century, the mechanisms behind heredity were still largely unknown by the scientific community, despite being described in 1865 by Gregor Mendel. Searching for this mechanism, Bateson and his lab began conducting breeding experiments on multiple different organisms, including the Brassica buckler mustard, which showed both hairy and smooth varieties in the wild. When bred, both phenotypes show and do not form an intermediate. While lecturing the Royal Horticultural Society in July of 1899, Bateson urged attendees to perform breeding experiments of their own at a more controlled and larger scale, and then statistically analyze the results. In attendance was Hugo de Vries, who in 6 months would be one of 3 scientists to rediscover Mendel's work. Upon becoming aware of Mendel's laws of inheritance, a piece of the puzzle fell into place for Bateson, and the natural variations that he had been observing for years finally had a mechanism to explain them. In order to share this revolutionary experiment, Bateson translated Mendel's seminal work, Experiments with Plant Hybrids, from German into English. Through heated academic debate with those who disregarded the theory of non-continuous evolution, including Bateson's former mentor, became the megaphone by which Mendel's ideas were spread and accepted. From 1902 to 1910, Bateson proved and expanded upon Mendel's observations through his own breeding programs, and formed an unofficial school of Mendel's near College, Cambridge, well before Mendel's laws were accepted as legitimate. He even coined the term genetics to describe the new scientific field, as well as the words allele, zygote, homozygote, and heterozygote. During this period, Bateson would work with Reginald Punnett, inventor of everyone's favorite genetic tool, to publish papers extending Mendel's laws to poultry, and to describe the phenomenon that would later be named genetic linkage.
So whenever you hear this,
together in 1910, the 2 scientists would found the Journal of Genetics.
They don't want us to know.
Bateson would also observe the phenomenon he would denote epistasis, but refused to believe in the chromosomal theory of inheritance proposed by fruit fly geneticist Thomas Hunt Morgan. Instead, he proposed his own incorrect vibratory theory of inheritance. In 1922, after a visit to Morgan's lab, Bateson conceded the role of chromosomes in heredity. William Bateson would serve as a professor of biology at Cambridge starting in 1908, and helped found the Cambridge School of Genetics. He left his position in 1910 to become director of the John Innes Horticultural Institute, a position he would hold until his death in 1926. William Bateson is directly responsible for the introduction of Mendel to the English-speaking world, and thus was the messenger ushering in the age of genetics we still find ourselves in. The language we use and the concepts we learn are often direct results of Bateson's expansion of Mendel's work. He was confrontational, stubborn, and the grumpiest looking man who ever lived. And through those beliefs, he laid the foundation for plant breeders and geneticists to alter the world.
To do what? What was his
Gregor
whole
Mendel
name?
was the
To alter the world. Okay, so now, oh my goodness, it's about to get crazy now. Okay, so now, I showed y'all the chain of all of the men who showed so many people in their classes how to crossbreed, right? And we talking about with genetics. Like, we talking about going in, like changing whatever they want to change and then making it, then putting it in the embryo, and then the embryo is going to be what they want it to be after they predict what it's going to be. Are y'all hearing me? Right, so remember, it was like centuries, like hundreds of years of them showing so many people how to do it. Do you know in 1948, they allowed all of these people to know what they was doing. They did a contest for them on chicken to see who can make the biggest chicken and the best chicken that we're gonna serve to the rest of the world. So that's it. Here go the white man telling y'all. I told you, but you might not believe me, so here go the white man telling you.
Did you know that poultry is the nation's third largest agricultural crop? A $3 billion business? Yes, chickens are raised in every county of the United States, mostly for egg production. Breeders have achieved great results in boosting the egg output of the average hen. Today's hen averages 154 eggs per year, and some birds produce over 300 annually. But with this emphasis on egg production, poultry meat has been more or less a byproduct of the industry. Relatively few poultrymen took steps to develop better meat-type chickens. During World War II, the industry reaped new gains with the shortage of red meat. Growers were pressed to supply the demand for top-quality chickens suitable for roasting oven or frying pan. Say, that makes me hungry. At the end of the war, poultry leaders were convinced that the industry would have difficulty maintaining its wartime gains. As one solution, the A&P food stores, the nation's largest poultry retailers, offered to sponsor a contest for the development of superior meat-type chickens. The National Committee was full of the program, the chicken of tomorrow, a broad-breasted bird with bigger drumsticks, plumper thighs, and layers of white meat, like the wax model on the right. The committee made plans for a series of state and regional Chicken of Tomorrow contests, to end with a national contest in June 1948. A&P offered $10,000 in cash prizes, $5,000 for the national
Yeah, I know, I was trying to get that flyer.
State committees were organized by H.L. Schrader of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and farmers and breeders all over the United States were invited to participate in state contests. 2 scorecards, each with a value of 100 points, were adopted by the committee. One scorecard was designed for dressed chickens, in which major emphasis was placed on conformation, including factors affecting edible meat yield. The other scorecard was for live chickens, with special emphasis on the economy of production. Hundreds of poultry raisers competed in 31 state contests held in 1946, and still more took part in the 1947 contests held in 39 states. Following the state contests in 1947, 5 regional Chicken of Tomorrow contests were conducted. 25 regional winners and others who ranked high in state contests qualified for the national contest. After considering offers from several state Chicken of Tomorrow committees, the National Committee selected the Delaware Agricultural Experiment Station in Georgetown, Delaware, for the raising site. Late in February 1948, 40 finalists and 4 alternates each sent 720 hatching eggs to Bradley's hatchery in Easton, Maryland, 40 miles from Georgetown. Unlike state and regional contests, all entries in the finals were hatched and raised under identical conditions and common supervision. The fragile cargo was shipped from 25 different states by practically every known means of transportation. Some West Coast breeders shipped by air, others by rail, and still others brought their eggs to Easton by private car. The Railway Express Agency made special arrangements to handle the contest eggs, and company agents gave each contestant specific routing instructions. Of the 31,680 eggs, only 61 were cracked in transit. On February 28th, the eggs were trained and ready for 21 days of incubation. They were given the regular commercial hatchery treatment, including fumigation and strict sanitation. The trays were labeled with a number replacing the breeder's name. In this way, the hatchery operators, those who later brooded and reared the chicks, the dressers, and even the judges, identified the various entries without knowing the names of the flock owners. Once inside the incubators, the trays were automatically turned every 3 or 4 hours. The usual precaution to prevent the embryo from adhering to the shell. The temperature was thermostatically controlled and checked constantly throughout the incubation period by plant personnel. Humidity also was carefully regulated. 18 days later, the eggs were removed from the incubators and transferred to larger hatching trays. These were placed in hatchers for the final 3 days of incubation. What goes on inside an egg during incubation? Well, after a week, the eye shows up clearly in the embryo as the first external organ to develop. Gestation is much further advanced at 10 days. The chick's outline is more pronounced as other organs begin to form. At 14 days, you can see the shape of the chick. The contents of the egg provide nourishment during the incubation period. Now at 18 days, the chick is almost ready to emerge from its shell. On the 21st day, its sharp beak pokes through to daylight as it seeks its freedom. It's not an easy task. The struggling chick must rest from time to time to muster strength and recover from its exhausting efforts. Finally, with the parts of the shell held together only by shreds of the lining, the chick makes one more super effort and shakes free into a new world. The chicks in the Chicken of Tomorrow contest hatched on March 21st. Of the 12 different breeds and crosses, New Hampshires and White Plymouth Rocks predominated. Each of the 2 breeds was represented by a dozen flocks. A minimum hatch of 400 strong, healthy chicks was required from each entry. Poultry leaders praised the hatching results. The New Hampshire flock entered by the Shenandoah Commercial Hatchery, Lowertown, Virginia, led all other entries with a hatch of over 87%. White Rock flocks averaged 74%, and one flock of dark Cornish hatched over 73%. Crossbreed flocks hatched 72%. Pretty chicks? Yes, sir. Alike as 2 peas in a pod. Wing banding looks like an enormous task, but government poultry specialists like H.L. Schrader and college poultry scientists like Dr. R. George Judd clapped the metal tags on the 16,000 birds in record time. Each chick received a band with its assigned flock number, and each bird carried the same number for identification purposes throughout the entire contest. The chicks were placed in boxes for shipment to the experiment station in Georgetown. There, to begin a 12-week growing period under the supervision of officials of the Delaware Agricultural Experiment Station. At Georgetown, the flocks were assigned to special pens and were housed in 2 parallel buildings. 4 boxes, 100 birds in each, went into each of the 40 pens, measuring 15 by 20 feet. Peanut shells were used for litter, and in each pen, a coal-burning brooder stove provided the necessary warmth. The day-old chicks soon solved the mysteries of feeding troughs and water jugs. The first 2 weeks, each pen had 4 chick feeders 3 feet long and 4 1-gallon water jugs. Later, these were replaced by 5 larger feeders with adjustable supports and the jugs removed in favor of automatic fountains. Adequate quarters, warm, clean, dry litter, ample food and water. That's what the chicks thrive on. And these chicks had the very best in care and sanitation. On warm days, the chicks need plenty of ventilation. Professor Carl Seeger, superintendent of the experimental station, inspected the contest pens and kept daily records on vital statistics. At 6 weeks, the flocks showed rapid growth. Cockerels sprouted combs and feathering was well advanced. The feed was a special mash formula prepared by the American Feed Manufacturers Association. It conformed to usual commercial standards containing a minimum of 20% protein, 3.5% fat, and a maximum of 7% fiber. No whole grain or pellets were used. Feed was kept before the birds at all times. It was weighed and records kept on each flock's consumption. This ranged from a high of 4,479 pounds in one pen to a low of 3,775 pounds. There was no lapse in the attention given to the birds, and at the close of the growing period of 12 weeks and 2 days, the chicks were ready for shipment to the processing plant. Mortality for the entire period was under 7%. Remarkable considering the epidemic of poultry diseases that swept through the 40 flocks. Newcastle.
All right, did y'all peep what he just said? That last little part, did y'all hear what he said? He said 40 diseases swept through that whole processing thing. Right? And remember how they were showing how clean it was and how they was doing the animals all justice and everything. The Most High was sending diseases in there because they was creating an abominable bird, right? So now watch this. It's about to get deep. All right, so now I'm gonna let Elder read this real quick. In 1880s, right? What happened?
In 1878, the term foul plague was used to describe the poultry disease observed in Italy and other European countries.
All right, now start right there, right? This was the foul plague, right? The foul plague is a chicken disease. Are y'all hearing me? Right? The Most High made a plague happen on these chickens to destroy them for doing what they was doing. It was called the foul plague. What happened after that?
The foul plague was then differentiated from foul cholera in 1880. Cholera in 1880. Though these are the oldest bird flu references date, it is believed that prior to these references, the disease had already been in existence for a long time, perhaps for hundreds of years.
All right, so now they called it the bird flu. So when you was hearing bird flu, it was talking about the chicken. It was talking about the chicken. Now it can spread to other animals in the barn, but it started with the chicken. Let's read the next one.
So 1894. There are reports of subsequent outbreaks in poultry of HPAI in 1894 and 1901 in Italy, which spread with the poultry stock of an itinerary poultry merchant to Eastern Austria and Germany, and later to Belgium and France.
All right, so this is where all the chickens was. If you do your research, they was in France, they was in Germany, they was in Australia, they was everywhere. They was pushing these chickens all over the place. At one point, if you go back in time, people, when they first started seeing the fowls, they used to cater to these fowls and treat them like a friend. They didn't eat them, right? They used to get buried with them, thinking that the chickens was going to take them to, the afterlife or whatever. Okay, 1901, what happened?
So the cause or etiology of HPAI in domestic poultry was identified as a virus, though influenza viruses were not isolated until the 1930s.
All right, so there we go. That same virus coming from the chickens, right? What that was that?
Okay, 1918. The Spanish influenza, H1N1, pandemic of 1918 to 1919 killed an estimated 50 to 100 million people worldwide.
Do y'all hear this? And y'all don't think this is the work of the Most High? He said, if y'all sitting up here creating abominable birds all around the earth and y'all don't think I'm going to do nothing? He killed 50 to 100 million people worldwide. Are y'all hearing me? Read.
Although the virus was not isolated during 1918 to 1919, when the technology was available, the genetic sequence was later determined to be an avian-like virus. Influenza A viruses cause seasonal epidemics of human flu worldwide, and much more rarely, flu epidemics. Flu pandemics are typically caused by the introduction and spread of an animal, avian, swine, or combination influenza A virus with an HA subtype that is new to human populations. 1924. The first outbreak of HPAI in poultry in the United States occurred during the fall and winter of 1924 to 1957. The disease first appeared to have caused severe losses in live bird markets in New York City in the 1950s. By the mid-1900s, HPAI had been reported in poultry in most of Europe, Russia, North America, South America, Middle East, Africa, and Asia. 1957. In February 1957, a new influenza, AH2N2 virus, emerged in people in East Asia, triggering a pandemic called the Asian flu. This H2N2 virus was comprised of 3 different genes from an H2N2 virus that originated from an avian influenza bird. A virus including the H2 hemagglutinin and the N2 neuraminidase genes, and genes from the human seasonal H1N1 virus 10. The estimated number of deaths was 1.1 million worldwide and 1,600,000 in the United States. In 1959, the first HPAI H5N1 virus was isolated following an outbreak in chickens in Scotland.
Do y'all hear that? All right, so that was some deep information right there. That should have put the nail the hammer on the nail. You know what I'm saying? We went all the way in showing and proving with scientific facts, right? And I even let the white man tell you, you are not supposed to eat no chicken. The Most High was trying to destroy those chickens, and with him trying to destroy them, he was destroying people too that was trying to make these chickens, right? And this was the power of the Most High, and a lot of people don't even see it or even know it. So today you have a choice. I know some people are like, man, I want to give my chicken up. I love my chicken, right? But you're going to be eating food that was created by a man. Are y'all hearing what I'm saying? And now, and that was like in 1948. It's on a, I could have kept going to right now what they doing to the chicken. You really don't want to eat it now, because when the chicken is created, the chicken be grown in a couple of days. And they bones grow so fast that the chicken, a lot of the chickens can't even handle it, and they go blind and they can't walk. And then the ones that go blind and can't walk and have all these defects, you know what they do? They make those the chicken McNuggets. I said McNuggets. For the people who eat McDonald's. But they make them the chicken nuggets. All of the ones that don't make it, they still feed them to you too. Go ahead.
They got promotions with McDonald's. You can buy a $5 meal. That's what the nuggets and all that. They're trying to push it on you with the whole meal. Fries, drinks.
Oh, remember they was giving the vaccine out. You was getting free chicken or free donuts. They would do whatever it takes for you to take that vaccine, and they try to use chicken on you because they know that you love that more than anything. Then they had the black people sit up here, finger licking good. Go ahead, Dr. Brown. Yeah, and when he was in the chicken spot, and he was like, wait a minute, we eat some poison right now. And this is why, because remember, the chicken is the most, that it ain't never been a species on earth that's been experimented on like a chicken, right? The chicken has been experimented on more than anything. So if I was you, I wouldn't eat chicken no more. I know it tastes good, but everything that tastes good ain't good for you. You see what I'm saying? Especially right now, because just imagine what they was doing then and where it is now. It's on a whole nother, they probably just straight laboratory stuff now. It ain't even, they just make it, 5 minutes, they just program something in the computer and a chicken pop up. They on a whole nother level right now. So now, at the beginning, we had people that stood. Oh, we got another question in the back. Oh yeah, you gotta be careful of right now. What we gotta be careful of is when everybody want to be vegetarians and stuff, and so they go to these food places that be having these stuff that tastes like chicken and tastes like. You gotta find out what they really made that stuff of, because a lot of it is like computerized meat. You see what I'm saying? Because their whole plan is they don't want us to eat things that the Most High created. They want us to eat things that they created. They want to feel like they the Most High. What did the Bible say? He said he want to rise up to the north. He want to be like the Most High. That's what these people are doing. They want to be like the Most High, and they want you to eat and love what they created and not what the Most High created. All right, so now, remember we had people stand up in the beginning that don't eat chicken, right? Who not going to eat chicken now stand up? All right, everybody that's not standing up, Safari, write their name down. They're going to hurry up and sit down. Okay, so from this point on, y'all know and understand how serious chicken is. California Hebrews ain't having it. We don't want it. We don't know nowhere around us. We don't want it at no tents of tabernacles. I'm going to say that again. We don't want it at tents of tabernacles. No chicken. It is abominable bird. It is not made of the Most High. We don't want to have nothing to do with it or their eggs. Are y'all hearing me? We don't want the eggs either. If you watch your products, if it says eggs, we don't want it. We trying to do what we got to do for the Most High. It's a whole nother system that we are supposed to be on to try to make it into the kingdom. We're supposed to be walking as holy temples, and we're not trying to defile ourselves with stuff that is made by the hands of wicked men. All praise to the Most High. All right, any other questions before we tap out? Go ahead.
Just wanted to mention that anything that's tampered with by man no longer has the natural relationship with the body that the Most High intended it to have.
Say that on the mic, guys. Say that on the mic. They not hearing you.
Any foods, whether they be vegetables, meats, or fruits that have been modified in the laboratories by man, no longer have the natural relationship with the human body that the Most High has intended his foods to do.
And so this is one of those times where I feel so good because I listened to the voice, and the Most High didn't even want to corrupt me with that. He was like, no, you mine. I'm going to show you. Don't touch that. Don't eat that. You stop right now because you belong to me. I didn't know all of this information back then. I just listened to the voice and I did it. And then as time went on, it just makes you want to praise the Most High even more. Just thank you, Father. All praise to AHAYAH. He is the God of all gods, the King of all kings. And he gave us his only begotten Son so we can be as strong as we can be, have an example how we supposed to be walking on this earth. All praise to AHAYAH B'Shem Yisrael. You had a question? Huh? Yeah, that's a whole week. Right now, we were just on chicken. We ain't going no. I want everybody to get chicken in their mind. We don't bring up no other birds right now. Right now, chicken. We banning chicken. We're going to get some signs. We're going to walk up and down Crenshaw, and we're going to say, we banning chicken. Banning. All right. So don't say Malak didn't do a lesson on this, because this was a good one. And I went in like I was a straight scientist finding all this stuff that people would never find. And the Most High led me to all this too, y'all. I'm not, I ain't nothing without him. I'm gonna let y'all know that right now. All right, go ahead. All praise. And now you know what I want to see in the group chat? I want to see everybody throwing their eggs out. I want to see everybody throwing that chicken out. I want somebody to boot the chicken like a football, just boot.
They're gonna say, I stop after I eat this.
All right, so everybody on the same page, everybody that's listening on Facebook and social media, make your decision too, because this is how we standing over here for the Most High. All praise to AHAYAH. All right, we're going to end it right there. All praise to AHAYAH. All right. That's